So my name is Guy. Can you hear me well? Yeah. My name is Guy. I'm a program manager in Microsoft. I come all the way from sunny Israel, almost sunny Seattle. And I'm going to talk with you about Excel Online and different scenarios in Excel Online, productivity and BI scenarios in Excel Online. So let's start. This is the agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about what is Excel Online, right? Then we're going to talk about customer scenarios. I'm going to show you different Excel resources available, and we're going to have some time for questions and answers. Before we start, how many of you are familiar with Excel Online? Are you using Excel Online on a daily basis in your organizations, things like that? Yeah, nice. So this is a typical user journey of an Excel user, right? Whatever Excel user is doing, usually we can briefly summarize it like using this diagram, these steps. First of all, the typical Excel user will need to get some data, then analyze this data using the regular Excel tools like pivot tables, pivot charts, and so on. Then visualize this data using charts, right? And prepare the reports. After the report is done, the user will usually publish the report somewhere, OneDrive, Power BI, somewhere else, and share this report with others. Again, these steps are not like coming one after another sequentially, right? Some of the steps are repetitive. Users, for example, once I'm analyzing, I may find, hey, I need some more data, so I'll go back to the get data step and bring some more data, things like that. But roughly speaking, these are the steps, right? For the first three steps, get data, analyze, and visualize, Excel Desktop plays a crucial role. For the last two steps, publishing and consuming data, Excel Online has a significant role here. And we're going to see the advantages of using Excel Online for publishing and consumption. Let's move on straight to the demo and see what Excel Online is. So I have my OneDrive here, and I have some workbook on my regular Excel workbook on my OneDrive. So I just click on it, and I have this workbook opened in Excel Online. And please notice that, hey, it looks familiar, right? The ribbon looks the same or almost the same. The charts look exactly the same as in desktop. Everything looks the same. Tabs, pivot tables, and so on. And this is one of the advantages of powers of Excel Online. It shares exactly the same engine as Excel Desktop. So no matter what your workbook has, whether you're using charts or formulas or pivot tables, doesn't matter what, Excel Online will render and will show the workbook in exactly the same way as I used to see it in Excel Desktop. Right? So I can, for example, go and change some numbers, and I will see my charts updated exactly as it happens in desktop. I can go and use slices and see that my values are changing. Oh yeah, and it's interesting, by the way, I can see that hey, married man in France spend much more money than married female in France. I don't know if it's real data, by the way, but it's funny. Let's do a right click and show the fields list for the pivot table. You're all familiar with pivot tables, right, in Excel? So I can go and change the value field settings. For example, I will change the pivot table to show averages instead of summary, and I will click OK, and I will see the numbers changing. So it's a really interactive tool, really interactive Excel instance running on the web, right? Any questions so far? Good. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, another demo that I wanted to do is collaboration in Excel, right? And I will show you shortly how you share your workbooks with other people in your organizations. But for this demo, I have a regular workbook opened in Excel Online, and this is the user this is my current user, Megan, right? And I'm editing and playing around with this workbook. Let's put this workbook on the side. And on the right, I have a completely different user. This user is Emily, you can see, right? On the left, you have Megan, and on the right, you have Emily. And both of the users are editing exactly the same workbook. And you can see that, hey, first of all, what I'm doing on the right, whatever Emily is doing, I can see that the rectangles, the present rectangles on the left are moving as well. If Emily on the right is going to edit a certain figure, like this, you can see that on the left, this cell is being highlighted. So Megan can know what Emily is doing. If Emily is updating a certain cell, you can see that both on the right and on the left, the data has been updated, right? And not just the data, but the charts have been updated as well. Emily can do a Control-Z. I'm just pressing on Control-Z, undo, exactly like in Excel, and my last operation has gone. And this is pretty cool. I can also see what Emily is doing, what the other user is doing. I can see, hey, Emily is editing the workbook together with me. If I want, I can open a chat window. And chat with the other user or users who are editing the workbook together with me, like, hi. Hi there. Okay, so you got the idea. So just imagine how productive and useful this can be when collaborating and working on the same workbook together with other people in your organization, right? You can easily share a workbook. You can easily chat while editing a data saying, hey, this data looks okay for me, but that one doesn't. Please go on and check the numbers and so on and so forth. I can go and close the chat window. And I'll do the same on the right. Great, so what did we learn so far? We learned that Excel Online behaves exactly as the Excel desktop version, that it shares the same calculation engine behind the scenes. We saw how I can easily share and collaborate and work on the same workbook with other people in my organizations. I've showed you a couple of features like chat and presence notifications that enable you to see what other people who are working on the same workbook are doing at the same time. And I leave it to you to find and apply these practices while sharing and working on the same workbooks in your companies. Let's get back to the demo, sorry, to the deck. Okay, let's speak a little bit about the advantages of Excel Online. So, first of all you need is a browser, right? It doesn't really matter where you are. All you need is just an online access. It doesn't really matter what device do you have, whether you have Windows, Macintosh, Android, or iPhone. Again, all you need is a browser. It doesn't matter what browser do you have. You can have an Internet Explorer browser, Edge, Chrome, Firefox, Safari. Excel Online supports all the major browsers out there. Also, as you have seen, the Excel UI in Excel Online looks really familiar with Excel Desktop. So if you ever worked with Excel Desktop, the learning curve is virtually none, right? You're familiar with all the controls, you're familiar with all the functionality. You can easily switch to Excel Online, and you can easily go back to Excel Desktop and use the same tools and the same commands and the same ribbon. Let's move on. Another advantage of Excel Online is that Excel Online is everywhere. First of all, if you're an Office 365 subscriber, then you have Excel Online for free. You can put your workbooks on OneDrive and share it with others. Also, many hosts and cloud services out there integrate Excel Online into their service. For example, Microsoft integrates Excel Online in Power BI, in Office 365. Office 365 is just another host, exactly like Power BI. Hotmail, Exchange Online, they all integrate Excel Online into their service. So, for example, if you receive an email in hotmail.com that contains a workbook, and you click on this workbook, it will be opened in Excel Online. Excel Online is also available as an on-premises solution as a part of your SharePoint deployment. And again, it's exactly the same version of Excel Online service. Let's move on. This is a partial list of all the third-party hosts that integrated Excel Online into their service. OneDrive, Exchange, SharePoint Online, Dropbox, and so on and so forth. The list is huge. This is just a partial list, as I said. We have dozens and dozens of customers of cloud services that decided to integrate Excel Online into them. Let's move on. Another important thing to mention is the security compliance. So, as you know, a lot of organizations and companies out there fear to move to the cloud because they're unsure if the cloud is secured, because they don't want to put their private customer data on the cloud, and so on. We in Microsoft understand this and invest heavily in security compliance. So, as you can see, Excel Online is compliant with a whole list of industry and government certification. We have professionals, IT professionals, constantly working to make sure that Excel Online and cloud services are secure. And I personally trust Microsoft at this point. We in Microsoft actually share our own business critical data and store it on cloud and open it with Excel Online from the cloud services. Let's move on. Another great improvement of Excel Online is that it's constantly improving. Roughly speaking, Excel Online gets updated as we speak. Every new feature that is being developed immediately deployed to Excel Online, right? This is just a partial list of recent updates that we released. You have search and filters. You have value field settings, the feature that I just showed you in my show demo, right? You can find and replace. You can select all. You have format paint and so on and so forth. The list is huge. It's constantly growing. We're constantly releasing new features and deploying them right to production. We call it an evergreen environment. Let's speak a little bit about co-authoring. So you saw how I work on the same workbook using two instances of a browser, right? Two users who are editing the same workbook in Excel Online. But co-authoring in Excel is much more than just editing or working on the same workbook from two different browser instances. We have actually invested heavily in the recent months to support the proper level of co-authoring in Excel Online. How many of you, by the way, are familiar with this dialogue when you try to open the same workbook from a network share or from OneDrive, and this dialogue says, "Hey, your file is locked. Do you want us to notify you when the person who is editing this workbook will release this workbook," and so on? Yeah, I saw a couple of hands. So normal file locking. The experience that you just saw in Excel Online when I showed two people working on the same workbook, you will see the same experience when working from different endpoints. So you can open the same workbook from desktop, from mobile, or whatever, and work on the same workbook without your file being locked, right? I'm not showing this to you because it's an Excel online session, but after the session, I mean, I'll be glad to demo it for you if you wish. I can do it I can open a certain workbook from my mobile, from my desktop, and you see how I can work and collaborate on the same workbook at the same time, and the changes are being synced. We have presence notifications. All the changes that authors are doing are constantly merged between different endpoints, right? So everything, all the users are getting exactly the same experience and exactly the same, work on exactly on the same data. Co-authoring is supported on all major platforms and operating systems like Android, Windows, and so on and so forth. And of course, for co-authoring to work properly, you need to store your file on OneDrive or SharePoint Online, right? Let's move on. Another great improvement that you will see in Excel Online, and not just in Excel Online, it's related to Office 365 in general, is related to accessibility improvements that we did recently. We also invested heavily to make sure that our product is accessible. As you know, accessibility is an essential part in every government institution, in every organization. If someone prepares a workbook, this person needs to be to be sure that this workbook, the content of this workbook, will be accessible to other people, especially to people with disabilities in this organization, right? So we invested heavily in accessibility improvements and made sure that that across all endpoints, our level of accessibility is exceptional. So we support reading the content in high contrast mode. We support different screen readers like JAWS and Narrator and so on. We support all the related accessibility industry standards, and especially in Excel Online, right? Let's move on. Customer scenarios. I'm going to walk you through popular customer scenarios, and we'll see how Excel Online contributes to success and great work during these popular scenarios. We're going to first of all focus on Excel Online scenarios in the cloud, and then we're going to speak a little bit about Excel Online scenarios on premises. So one of the most popular scenarios in when you work with Excel Online in the cloud is that once you prepare the report, you would like to share it with other people in your organization, right? How would you usually do it? Most of the people will probably save the workbook on a desktop and then send this workbook as an attachment to other people in the organization. But this is messy, right? If someone changes this workbook, this person will send this workbook back to you, and you will need to merge the changes and things like that. Well, with Excel Online, not anymore. You can easily share your workbook with other people in your organizations and have your people work exactly on the same data set, right? The data is refreshable, so if someone refreshes the data, all the people benefit and see the most updated data, obviously. You don't need to care anymore if the people the customers, the consumers who are getting the link to your workbook, what kind of Excel desktop do they have, if any, right? They may not even have an Excel desktop installed on their machine. All they need is a browser, remember this. So this is great. I'll show you how it's done in Excel Online. So I'll go back to my OneDrive. I can select a file and just copy a link. Please notice that I can control who is actually going to view this link, right? I can say, hey, this link is available to anyone, to any people in my organization. or I can provide a specific list of people in my organization who will be able to use this link. I can also say, hey, some of those who receive this link will be able to edit the workbook or will not be able to edit the workbook. After I got the link, I can send this link through email or instance messaging to other consumers and let them use it. Of course, another way to do the same thing is through the share option. I can choose share. Again, I can specify what kind of access the recipients will have. Once I'm done, I can specify the list of recipients. Wait a little bit until the results are being displayed. Yeah. Add an optional message, just click send, and the recipient of this email will get a link to my workbook and will be able to work on it according to the access level that I provided, whether I allowed this person to edit this workbook or not. This person will be able to work with this workbook. And of course, what are advantages, again, what are the advantages of sharing the link instead of sharing the workbook? I mentioned it already. The data is refreshable. You don't have to care about merging stuff and so on. Another way, and I mean, you all came to Microsoft Data Insights Summit, so you know what Power BI is, right? Power BI is a popular tool for dashboarding and sharing the dashboards within my organization and beyond. So another popular scenario where you can use the power of Excel online is publishing to Power BI. We understand that analysts often use the tools of their choice, right? Sometimes you can use Power BI Desktop. In other cases, you can use Excel. And you will often need an ability to upload your data in Power BI and share it with others. So I'll show you how it works. Let's say that I have some sample workbook here, okay? Just retail analysis workbook, and I have just a pivot table here. So I can go to File, Publish, and choose from the following available publishing methods. First of all, I can upload this workbook directly to Power BI, and I will use this method shortly. This way, I just take the workbook literally and upload it to Power BI and then open it from Power BI in Excel Online. And the other way, export, it just exports the data, right? I don't upload the entire workbook. I just export the data model in my workbook into Power BI. I will use this option to show you how it works. Okay, I already uploaded the workbook into Power BI, so I can choose Replace, but I won't do it in this case because I don't want to take chances. I'll just show you that, hey, this is my Power BI dashboard, right? And this is the workbook that I uploaded here. I can click on it and have it opened in Excel Online. And please remember, again, it's exactly the same engine as in desktop. Everything that I see on desktop will be available here. I can then select this pivot table and decide to pin it into my dashboard, like this. I can then go to my dashboard. Scroll down and see my pivot table available here. Other people who will view this dashboard can then click on this tile and open this data again in Excel Online and work on this data as they will do in Excel Desktop. Right, so I kind of showed you the road trip. I started with Excel Desktop, uploaded the data to Power BI, pinned certain parts of my Excel workbook into the dashboard, and other people in my organization can view and interact with this data in Excel Online. If you are not an Office 365 subscriber, if you're running Excel 2013 or earlier, Then you can do the same with the Power Pivot publisher regime that we provide, that Microsoft developed. You can download it, enable it, and do the same things. You can upload stuff to Power BI, and so on. Great. What are the advantages, by the way, when I upload the data, my workbook, to Power BI? First of all, except of having the data available to other people in my organizations, I can take advantage of different Power BI features that I get for free, like schedule refresh, for example. Right? Once I uploaded the workbook to Power BI, I can schedule a refresh according to my needs, and the workbook will be refreshed according to the schedule that I defined. Another thing that you can do with Excel Online is to embed your workbook data almost anywhere. And we support two kinds of embeddings. So first of all, if you uploaded your workbook to OneDrive or SharePoint Online, and you would like, let's say you're writing a blog post, or you're writing an article or whatever, and you would like to have an instance of this workbook shown in your blog post or in your article, then you can easily embed this workbook in your article. We support two kinds of embedding. We support iframe embedding and JavaScript embedding, right? And another popular scenario to show you data is through SharePoint web parts. So if you have SharePoint, if you are in an organization who has a SharePoint, that runs a SharePoint, you can define web parts, connect them to your workbook data, and have it displayed like it's shown on the screenshot below, right over here, right here. And again, what are the advantages of doing this? The data is refreshable. Think about it. You can go and change your workbook, refresh the data, update it, do whatever changes you wish, and all the consumers of your blog post, of your article, will have the data updated. Last but not least, if you have a SharePoint, you can create a SharePoint library, place your workbook there, create a link to your workbook just like I showed you, right? And share it with other people in your organization using different level of permissions and so on. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Excel Online on premises. First of all, questions, by the way. Are we good? Cool. Sorry? Yeah?
In the refresh scenario, if you have a data source in your Excel workbook, when you do the automated refresh to SharePoint, does that refresh from the original data source? Or does the save?
Can you repeat the question, please?
You have a refresh of from your Excel workbook.
Yeah.
But the workbook has the data source. Does it pull from the original data source into the workbook?
Yes. Good question. The question was, if you have a workbook on SharePoint, right, and you do a refresh, will the refresh pull the data from the original data source? And the answer is yes. It will pull the data from the original data source. Obviously, you need to make sure that the workbook placed on a SharePoint has an access to the original data source. So for example, if you put your workbook on SharePoint Online, which is a cloud environment, right, and your data source is on premises, like a corporate SQL server or whatever, you need a corporate data gateway which will support this scenario and enable the refresh running on the cloud environment to access your on-premises environment. Does it answer your question? Any other questions? Good. So this is an evolution of a BI story on premises. We started with Excel, we started in 2007 when we first provided a BI solution for on-premises environment. And this was done with an introduction of Excel services. It was an actually fork from the regular Excel code base. Like imagine that we continued developing features, and at a certain point we made a cut, took the features available at that particular point, and developed another product which is called Excel services, right? And we supported certain BI scenarios with Excel services. But we didn't update this Excel services product frequently. Actually, we didn't update it at all, or there were only very few updates. There were also problems with deployment of Excel services and so on. And so in 2013, we took the first step to provide a better BI story for on-premises environment, and we introduced what we call a WAC server. So in SharePoint Server 2013, the IT folks had two choices. Upon deployment of SharePoint Server 2013, an IT guy in the organization would ask himself, hey, do we need any BI features in the organization? If the answer was yes, then the IT guys will go and install Excel services, because Excel services were supporting all the BI scenarios. They provided the support for all the BI scenarios, while WAC Server didn't provide any support for BI scenarios yet. Right? Obviously, this is not a good practice. So in Excel 2016, we kind of deprecated the Excel services application, and instead of this, we made sure that the WAC server now supports all the relevant BI scenarios. So everything, or almost everything, all the relevant scenarios that were previously supported by Excel services are now supported in WAC. And obviously, WAC server is much better and much more convenient in terms of deployment, in terms of functional updates, and so on. So today in WAC support, in WAC server, we support most of the BI-related operations, like working with Power Pivot, refresh of Power Query, query scheduled refresh, using workbook as a data source, and so on. When speaking about Excel Online 2016 on-premises environment, there are a couple of reasons to upgrade to the new environment. So first of all, as I mentioned, you have more Excel features, right? This is just a partial list of features here. I also showed them in the previous slide. With the new Excel Online and WAC server, you have a robust and unified deployment. You just deploy it like any other Office web application. And you can use it for viewing, editing, interacting with your data, and so on. And another huge advantage is that, hey, we now support all the BI operations, even in the standard SharePoint SKU. This was not the case before. With Excel services, in 2007, you need to have a premium, high-end SharePoint SKU to have the BI operations enabled. Well, no more. Even in the standard SharePoint SKU, you can take a full advantage of BI operations. And as I mentioned, Office Online Server 2016 is evergreen. We deploy as we go. We develop new features, and we deploy them to production. Another important part of the BI stack on-premises environment is the new SQL Server 2016. There are a couple of reasons to upgrade. So first of all, we have the Power Pivot Engine, an upgraded Power Pivot Engine. We now support a refresh of Power Query queries into the data model, which is a huge advantage. With the new SQL Server Analysis Services 2016, you now have support for new DAX functions. It also works faster. And with the SharePoint reporting services 2016, we now support new charts, HTML5 rendering, cross-browser printing, and so on. To summarize what we saw, again, it's worth mentioning that Excel Online is a great platform for sharing, collaboration, and consumption of your data within your organization and beyond, right? You can easily collaborate with other people. You can chat with them. You can share workbooks with other folks and provide different levels of permissions. Everyone is using the most recent data. If the data is being refreshed, all the people see it and use the most recent data. We talked about the fact that Excel Online is available on different endpoints like Office 365, on premises, various first-party and third-party hosts, and also Power BI. I've mentioned that, hey, the Excel Online environment is evergreen, and we deploy new features as we go. And I also talked a little bit about the fact that the new Excel Online and the WAX server replaced the old Excel services for on-premises environment and scenarios. Questions? Cool. Let's talk a little bit about Excel resources available for you. So first of all, Excel user voice. If you have a feature of your choice, I encourage you to go and vote for this feature at the Excel user voice portal. During the last year or so, we developed approximately 10 features that were requested by our customers. I can give you the list of these features afterwards. You have, when you go to Excel user voice, you have categories, Excel Online, Excel Desktop. So no matter what feature you require, you can go there and create a new entry or vote for an existing feature that is important for you. We constantly monitor the Excel user voice portal and try to reply and address the requests as we go. Excel team blog, if you would like to stay updated with the latest news and developments and all the cool features, all the new cool features that we release, I encourage you to go and subscribe to Excel team blog. Excel community, we actually have two communities. We have tech community, Excel tech community available at techcommunity.microsoft.com. And so you can go to this portal and engage with conversations with other professionals like you. Or you can go to another community, answers.microsoft.com, and get your questions answered by a whole community of Excel professionals who are on this portal. And also, another cool thing that we are doing, we are conducting annual Ask Us Anything sessions on Reddit. We did one session in 2015 and another in 2016. And we are planning to do another one this year, toward the end of the year, so stay tuned. A couple of other sessions that you may be interested to take a look. I mean, our session is towards the end of the summit, but all the decks and all the content and recordings will be available online in a week or so. So I encourage you to take a look at the recordings for these sessions. And that's it. Any questions, guys? Thank you.